it's just true that like healthier, lower turnover, higher performing organizations like succeed. It's a question of like, how do you get to those things?
Hi folks, excited to share today's episode of We're Not Recording with you. Melanie and I sit down with someone I've known for a long time, Ian White. He's the founder and CEO / CTO of ChartHop. He's also Ethena angel investor. He's building in the HR space. We cover a lot of ground, including we learned that his previous career was in acting, which I think is an incredibly cool sort of way to enter tech. But most importantly, he is on my side on the anti-possum stance. You'll see what we mean when we get to the episode. While I've got your attention, please do like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. And do check Ethena out. We provide compliance training for many of the best companies, like folks like Pinterest and Carta, and share with your HR and legal teams. And I hope you enjoy the episode.
Ian, you are the founder and CEO and CTO, which very cool. You got both. We're going to have to talk about that in a second. At ChartHop, and an early Ethena investor, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
Yes?
Absolutely.
My understanding is you put that above being founder and CEO of ChartHop. That's kind of one of the things you lead with is like an introduction.
That's number one.
Yeah,
the most important thing.
Yeah.
My bad. I should have started that way. But Ian, tell us a little bit more about yourself. How'd you get to where you are today, and how did you realize that Ethena is so amazing that you had to invest in us?
Well, I'll start with the second part because I really, Roxanne and Ann, before this was like even a company. I think you had just your sort of initial product, and we're just like
spitballing, looking for advice. We were in Williamsburg. I think you and I met up before COVID. He was just a smart guy who was like building in the HR space.
That was it. I remember like getting coffee in Williamsburg.
It's really nice as a founder to get to talk to other founders, especially cool if they're in your space, but like kind of regardless, it's nice because I feel like there are just like, never talked to a founder. He's like, how are things going? They're like, I'm crushing it all the time. You're like, that's not true. Like, like it's a nice space to be like, talk about like the messy stuff that like, doesn't necessarily, shouldn't filter into your whole company, or other places. Your spouse is probably really tired of hearing about it. Like, yeah.
All right, well, Ian, let us give you a chance to talk about your own company for a moment.
Okay, so let me do some posturing. Let me just brag about myself for a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been building tech really my whole life. And I was always interested in tech, not just for its own sake, but for how it impacts people. I basically moved to New York. I was actually doing like professional acting for like a little bit, or trying to do professional acting.
What?
Yeah,
were you in anything we would recognize?
Oh man, so I did not that you would recognize. No.
We're gonna do such a deep dive after this.
Yeah, like
I'll send you
IMDb.
gifts of everything. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
We definitely I did like an off-Broadway show for a little while called My First Time that was like ran around. I did like a bunch of stuff, but I was so also cool. Honestly, acting and like the experience I had, like, because in theater you build something from nothing is what you do. You have so few resources. You really just have like yourself and the people around you and like some story that you're trying to tell or imagine. And like that experience of like working with actors and directors and writers and all that stuff during my 20s is like, every day that I, build this company it comes into play in some way. But I also, I had this passion for technology that really just goes back to when I was like 10 years old making like video games. And I had a few day jobs working in different like media tech companies. But what I really learned from that experience, right? Like I had, I'd managed a couple engineers. And I think when you're managing just a small team, the level of like structure and rigor you need to bring to that is not the same as thinking about the health and vitality of a whole company.
Sure.
Sail through scale pretty quickly, especially for the time. We were hiring just a ton of people, onboarding them, creating roles and structures, and like thinking about how we were going to, just manage this like constant change. And I came out of that experience, both feeling like like building a like great, like healthy, successful organization is an incredibly like interesting and like complicated challenge, because there's, you know, there's just so many dimensions to it, right?
Totally. And the
There's
company you are at like 50 employees is a different company than
it's
300 employees,
Yeah.
and politics start creeping in, then you stop talking to each other. It's like, how do you make decisions? All that stuff.
th-
Yeah.
all that stuff. So many things like change over time, and it felt
Yeah.
like over that journey of 6-7 years, it felt like 6-7 different companies. There's just like different eras, different
Totally.
people, different different phases and moments. And I felt like this was like the most interesting problem in the world. Like, how do you get hundreds or maybe thousands of people like working together like well in pursuit of like a shared goal? And it also felt to me like HR software did not actually help you accomplish that thing. And so I felt like if you could have a HR system that would be oriented around data,
Mm.
visualization, collaboration, like help us like think about our organizations that we're building in software the same way we like think and talk about them to each other. And so I just felt like that would be a really interesting and fun problem to try to solve for lots of people. And so I started ChartHop really back in 2019, when I was, first getting connected with Roxanne and Ann. We were just getting things going out of a WeWork in Williamsburg, and then COVID happened, and many years later, we've really evolved the platform from planning and analytics to now we really power the whole people ops lifecycle. So HRES, performance management, engagement surveys, but the kind of fundamental underpinnings of can we be more data driven, more strategic, and more visual about how organizations work.
Even from my experience in the army, like, leadership in any realm, everyone agrees it's like all about getting people to like all sort of like row in the right direction. Like that's the name of the game. It doesn't matter like what you're doing. And so it's like it's funny that like HR has a small budget, but everyone agrees that like people are our most important asset. And I think they really believe it. They like, yes, they say it, but also like I think any good leader like 1,000% believes that like getting people motivated is like how you win. And so like what do you kind of make of that? Is it like that HR isn't actually the space that like is or should be where you kind of do all of those annoying consultant words, but I think means something. Align, motivate, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, because it is just like, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Roxanne, are you asking Ian basically if like you should fire me? Like, is my role necessary? Is that
Jesus
what's
Christ.
happening right
This is also about like,
Wow,
I'll
you just
be
like escalated that really fast.
pontificating on something, and Melanie's like, do I need to like toggle open to opportunities on LinkedIn? Like,
Okay, I
no,
just
Melanie,
need to
like,
reset. What's happening right
no.
now? I'm
What's
totally getting. I totally get. I do not worry. I'm
I've
totally
created a
getting.
monster.
Well,
No.
listen,
Ian, there's actually.
unfiltered CEO, CPO dynamics are the absolute best. I like so I mean, I think there's a lot like to unpack there.
Yeah.
But I'd say like HR can't do it on their own. Like anybody who could improve organizational performance by, X% is obviously that's incredibly valuable, but HR cannot do that. I think from the lens of, a leader in the function, I think you just want to like really really show up as how can we drive revenue, how can we drive organizational performance, but also with an understanding that like you can't HR can't actually do that
Hmm.
themselves.
I do think that's important, right? Like I can't hold anyone accountable. Like there's not much I can do. If the CEO or the leadership team isn't holding people accountable. But I also think there's just like a tough truth, which is that people strategies, which I do fundamentally believe are critical to driving high performance and increasing revenue, they're indirect solutions to driving revenue. And so if you have sort of like the allure of like this immediate thing that's going to get me revenue right now versus like this thing that's going to take a longer investment to get me that return, it's kind of, Roxanne, you had given a great analogy once where you were kind of like, Mm, I know that, my parents told me to put money into an investment fund, but I'm not gonna see that money for so long. It may be better to spend it right now, so I can see that win
I'm
today
a great
versus
saver too. That's a weird example I gave, but
you
yeah.
said it, not me,
Yeah, yeah,
okay?
yeah.
But
No,
I
no,
think
it's yeah.
fair enough that the allure of an immediate win can
Well, because I
often make
think
it
like
hard. Go ahead.
an example might be if a sales leader comes to you and says, I need sales training to make my AEs better. And in Q4, they will up their win rate. It's like, I know how to assess that, right? Like, I'm like, okay, how much is it going to cost? And like, how much would, your win rate going up result in? And then do I believe this story? Whereas if you said like, Melanie, you're like, I want to get everyone together to do an offsite and here's how much it's going to cost. And I'd be like, okay, cool. And what's it going to give? And you'd be like, more alignment. Like it's just inherently harder for me to be
Yeah,
like, and that's not to say it's silly
yeah.
because I don't
Like
know in
retention.
retention exactly. And so you're measuring this like counterfactual of like, would they have left?
It's just true that like healthier, lower turnover, higher performing organizations like succeed. It's a question of like how do you get to those things, and so I don't know. Like I think this is why CEO CPO alignment is so critical, right? Because like
Yeah.
that's leadership's job is to like not just make the short-term investment, but also to do the things that are going to set the organization up for success over the
Mm,
next few years and
Yeah.
not just the quarter, right?
Yeah. I do think that balance is really key because I've even seen in my partnership, not just with Roxanne, but with other HR people when I talk to them about their partnership with the leadership team. In the absence of clear communication, people will fill the gaps with assumptions that are often untrue. And so if I only come to Roxanne with things that are about retention or driving performance, but I don't come to her with things that show that and also sometimes we have to make tough cuts. And sometimes we actually need to fire people faster, right? I could see Roxanne inadvertently coming to the conclusion that oh, Melanie, what she actually is optimizing for is employee happiness. And so I
mm.
really do think it's all about this balance, open communication, short-term wins, long-term wins. It's all got to be there. It can't just be one or the other. Roxanne, this is going to be a hard one for you because
Mm.
as the CEO of Ethena Compliance Training Company, I know that you are excited about all the things all the time. But if you had to pick one particular feature that we have that you are extra excited about at this moment, what would it be?
Okay, it is going to be test out, test down. Sounds like your dog's excited about this as well. The reason I'm excited is because I started this company with the idea of really hating sitting through training that I didn't need. Like it just annoyed me in the army, for example, having to sit through an hour when I really only needed 4 minutes was relevant to me.
Totally.
And I think what's very cool about Test Out is basically our customers can offer a quiz beforehand to their employees and they can design it any way they want. But a really common thing we would see is, for example, if you have sort of aced the data privacy section, then you're just going to get shorter data privacy training. And I think that is just, that's how learning works. But for a bunch of reasons, including a lot of clunky systems, it's not historically how compliance training has worked. And it is so cool to see our customers who've rolled this out just get such appreciation from the whole company of hey, you've respected my time, but you're still delivering information that I need to know. It's not like you're saying good luck, everybody, you do you. And instead it's just the targeted, effective way to deliver training.
Totally. And then you get that buy-in, right? If you ended up having to take the training because you failed the test, right? There's a clear reason. It wasn't
100%.
for no reason.
It's how we do great cybersecurity training. If you click on the bad link, you're going to get that cybersecurity training and you have no one to blame but yourself.
And you know what? If you feel resentful at that point, I think you need to take a good hard look inside because don't you want to be helping the company? Just saying. Just saying.
Not wrong. So yeah, it's very cool and folks should check Ethena out.
I'm gonna move us along with
Move
a
us along.
hard pivot. Hard pivot.
Let's pivot. Let's go.
One of my favorite parts of our episodes is we just pelt you with unscripted questions. And some put you in the hot seat, some are fun, some are scary. And quite frankly, I take a lot of joy in this moment. So I'm gonna hit you with
Hurt
one
people,
first.
hurt people.
Let's not dig too deep there, Roxanne, okay? I'll start, and then Roxanne, it sounds like you have some fun ones too. All right.
Yeah,
Ian,
Bill
my
the
question
actor stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, but
Okay.
yeah.
My first question for you, Ian, because I feel like I've been getting a lot of hate from some people whose name might start with an R and end in Oxan. So my question to you is, if I were to pursue my lifelong dream of opening a possum cafe, not a cat cafe, a possum cafe. Would you check it out and would you invest? Because you invested in Athena, and I'm just wondering if you would believe in and invest in my dream.
Feel free to say,
Sure.
send me the deck and I'll review it if that's what you want to say. That's what I would say. Yeah.
I do want to see the deck just for
Okay.
my own
I
like
should have seen this
hilarity and
coming.
amusement.
All right. Yeah.
I'm probably out on the possum museum. They're
What?
kind of
Are you
the cafe. Like,
anti-possum?
I'm pro possum. I want to
Okay.
show up. I want to see what it's all about. But yeah, I don't know.
You
I
don't.
think I like
You don't.
scalable businesses.
Okay. You don't want
Like
to like
where
share
do
a
you
scone with a
where
possum.
do
Also,
you
like
where do
the
you get the
rabies health risk.
Possums rarely have rabies. Their body temperature is
I
too
heard
low for them to
rarely,
survive.
and that's all I
It's
needed to know.
all
Like,
right. You know what? We can move it along to Roxanne's question. I think I've heard all I need. Thanks, Ian. Thanks.
No, follow
Ian,
your
that
dreams though. Like I would always say, follow your dreams.
I
You know,
appreciate that. I really
follow
but
your
do.
dreams, not with
but
my
I'm
money, is I feel
but
like
not
what
with
I,
my
yeah.
Not with my
No,
well said and well heard.
you'll be cheering her on from the sidelines, Ian, is what I heard.
There we
yeah.
go. There you go.
Okay, so you recently posted about internal transparency, and I know you and I have even talked about this, like
Yeah.
investor updates or whatever. And as tell me if you disagree, but I would say you're like quite on the transparency spectrum, internally, externally, believe in it. What would you do if I don't know if you saw there was this kerfuffle about Harvey and like some allegedly disgruntled employee posted a bunch of stats, like their revenue, their this, their that. What would you do if you faced that sort of situation where like your internal transparency burned you? Like how would you handle it kind of start to finish?
Look, like when you commit to transparency, I do sort of assume on some level that like anything I do share with the company could get out, and ultimately, like I'm trusting people not to do that. But if they do, like I don't know, I think ultimately any startup has like good stuff happening and bad stuff happening.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that could get out that I would be like that would be so bad that it would be catastrophic. Like I think you just try to like own the whole story and like contextualize it. I think that founder did or tried to do is just
Yeah.
contextualize what was shared. But I think then just reminding internally what a kind of breach of trust that was, because I do think that part of transparency is about trusting your employees and trusting that people are adults who can manage context and who can like receive all kinds of information. And I think that's definitely somewhat of a betrayal, but
Totally.
I just don't think that there's anything that it can be that bad that can't be contextualized in some way.
Yeah.
I buy that
That's
answer.
fair.
We at a prior company, we had a disgruntled employee who no longer worked there, but had friends that at the company that still worked there, and they were all disgruntled together. And it was a media company, and because they're all reporters, right? Like they have a pretty big audience, and so things would constantly get leaked to this person who no longer worked there, and that person would constantly post about things that happened internally at our company to like an actual audience. They worked at another media company. And but I really admired that our CEO at that time did not let it change his behavior, because at the end of the day, he was not trying to make fear-based decisions. He was not trying to ruin his entire culture because of one or two bad actors. He stood by this. He stood by what he had said. Yeah, it was made public even though he didn't want it to, but you know, if you forced him to talk about it, yeah, he stood by that decision. And so I think if you stand by your decision, if you have the litmus test of like, would I stand by this if it made the front page of the New York Times, then like, who cares?
Totally.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Cool.
And there's always like there's always those decisions that you're like, yeah, you know what, got that one wrong. Okay.
Totally. Yeah.
Like
That is
and
true. Sometimes you learn.
and
Yeah.
so I don't know. I think often people's fears of what's going to happen if something bad happens are often worse than what the reality looks like.
Okay, my last like lightning round question is: should everybody in the workplace take an improv class? I have a strong perspective here, but Switching gears.
No, I don't generally like. I don't think people should be like forced to take a class that they don't feel good about. But I do think that improv is in being in the moment is really good. I've done it for like a number of team offsites type of things. I will say though, there are some people who just dread it,
It's not
and
their way
I
of
don't.
learning.
It's not their
Her
way
name
of
is
learning,
Roxanne. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I yeah. So I don't want to force it on
Thank you.
somebody that is not feeling the improv.
I feel like, yeah, it's like my greatest fear is improv or karaoke. And either of the, like, I'm like, give me an obstacle course, give me a puzzle. But the second it is like improv and karaoke, I'm just like, oh no, like, no.
Yup. As someone who loves facilitating team building events, exercises, all the things, I have the entire time refused. Roxanne, you can back me on this or call me out on it if I'm lying. I have never ever done a single role play in any of my activities. I refuse because it is a form of improv. The closest I have done is that I will have two people come up and read a script, and then I will have people react to the script. What do you think they got wrong? What do you think they got right? But I can't. It gives me secondhand embarrassment. It makes
Yeah.
me nervous because let's not, please. Let's not. That's my ask. That's my ask. But Ian, you do.
Agreed.
You do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Ian.
I will say I
Yeah.
have seen role play exercises go very well, but it
I
depends
believe in
on
you. I just don't
the
have your skill.
people.
I don't have
Depends
your
on
skill.
the
I don't have your
vibe.
thick skin. But this is a perfect segue into what I actually genuinely wanted to ask you about, which is you mentioned that you've done improv as part of your offsites. And I saw this article. I don't know if this is still accurate. Let me know if it's still accurate, okay? I saw this article that said you do a 3-day company-wide offsite that's called, is it like adult summer camp? Is that right? Or
So
maybe it was a one-time thing?
so
Tell me more.
we call it camp hop. That is the
Camp.
name.
Oh wow.
Camp
Okay, they
camp
misquoted
hop.
you. Just say they
But
misquoted you. Okay.
nobody misquoted me, lovely reporter. But I think the adult summer camp was more of a reporter like
I see.
inferring.
Just to
I
sell
we
it. Okay.
we like to do a lot of like survey the company to using ChartHop, of course, for like
Sure.
naming things and things like that. Like we had our bunny was named through that type of survey, and like so like
Okay.
Camp Hop was
That's cute.
Camp Hop was like one of many proposals,
Okay.
and it's got a ring to it. Camp
It
Hop,
super
but
has
Camp
a
Hop,
ring to it.
but
Yeah,
but
okay.
Camp Hop does not have to be at camp.
Okay.
It's about the experience of finding time together to align as a remote and distributed team.
So let me ask about that, because as an HR person, I'm very fascinated by offsites of all kinds, whether it's a leadership team offsite, a company-wide offsite, a team-specific offsite. First of all, how frequently do you do it? What teams do you do it for? And walk me through like a sample itinerary, because I heard what you're optimizing for. It's alignment. Maybe there's more there. I just want to like walk me through it. This is purely self-indulgent. Like I want to hear how you do it so that maybe I can steal some ideas.
Yeah, I mean, we've structured them different ways. I think we've been moving more towards like focused team based offsites rather than the company wide, because the
Okay.
company wide is an important like celebration kind of thing, but
Yeah.
it's hard to get the focused like work, I would say. So I
Okay, so
think
you're
that
trying to do work, or you're saying
we're trying to I've done two different types of offsites in the
tell
past.
me more.
One is
Are you
more
do more team building, more goal
one is
orienting?
more team building.
Okay.
Team building, I think, is really helpful when you've got a lot of new people or like are in new roles that are working to find and build trust with each other. And so doesn't have to be the improv exercise, but some kind of teamwork exercise. Like
I don't know, Ian. I think you should lean in. If your employees don't do improv, just fire them. Just fire them on the spot. You know, just you got to take a stand.
Is that like a protected class, like stage shy or something? Like, you get fired for that.
It's not as far as I'm aware, but I'll check with
probably not good HR advice. But but we've done like group activities where like there's a group like problem solving challenge, right? Like reconstruct this tower from memory using only like
Yeah,
communication. Those
sure.
those types of team building group activities. I think those are most valuable for a team that is newly forming or like
Mm.
has just a lot of like change and
Do
transition.
you put a playbook from like a certain place? You know, like I feel like there's like kind of a lot of like standard businessy like norming, storming, whatever the words are, or like how do you figure out like how you're gonna fill, or does your people leader figure that out? Like what's the
Oh yeah,
itinerary?
who's in charge? Who's responsible for determining the agenda?
Yeah. So what we've done for revenue offsites is being our revenue leader, who's typically like partnering with
Yeah.
others like our marketing events person, etc. But like it's we want that structure to be driven by revenue. What I've done for the all company offsites is we've usually people has a say in that or an element of planning the agenda, but we try not to leave it all on the people team to plan. We usually have an event planner who actually like you know works that out. And then for a smaller team offsite, like an exec offsite, I'm typically planning that agenda.
Interesting. Okay, and in those, unless there's a moment of change, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're not optimizing for team building there. You're really focusing on like what goals are we focusing on next quarter? Or is it something
Y-
else?
yeah, so like usually usually a team oriented, it's there's a set of strategic goals that we're trying to achieve. Exec team obviously is all the
Sure.
whole company's
Yeah.
goals, right? But like
Yep.
you know engineering team might get together because we've got a key product
Mm.
shift or delivery that we're trying to get. So we're trying to orient because now we've got a team where I think the average tenure is like 3.5 years. Like it's less about the like, and obviously we've got new people that need to be integrated in the group, but like you've got a lot of people who like have a lot of like trust and have like worked with each other, and it's more about like how do you accomplish like what is the most important business priority in front of us.
Athena's actually moved in the opposite direction. I'm not saying that's
Hmm.
right. That means it's right or
Yeah.
wrong. It could be right for our team, or we just could be making a really big mistake. But we started very much focused on like, okay, all we're sitting in a room for 2 days and we're figuring out what is the course of next quarter and how do we do it and how do we solve this problem. And I think what we found was that, we would walk out of the offsite and I didn't even actually have a chance to talk to one person one on one that I normally
Right.
don't partner with. Like I saw you there in person for the first time in 3 months, and I didn't even get to connect with you or vibe with you. And then, the next time there was like a tough moment, remotely, I didn't have that trust built up because we had only talked about business and we hadn't talked about like getting to know each other's people. And so our offsites have meaningfully moved in the direction of the majority of it is yes, team building exercises, but also honestly, a lot of like we have 1 hour every day of an offsite that's just a walk and talk. So you have to find a buddy that you normally don't partner with, or that you have a bunch of ideas you haven't got a chance to talk to about, and you just go on a long walk with them for an hour, and then you come back when you're done, and it's just like little things like that where it's like we're just getting to know each other
Yeah.
better as people. Like what are your thoughts when I say that?
I mean, I agree, and I think that's great. What I found though is that like it's better just to leave like big blocks or chunks of time so
Mm,
that the offsite can have that kind of like organic
interesting. So
connections
maybe the problem is
rather
like
than
overly jam packed
yeah.
offsite agendas. Okay.
Yeah, I just always think like half the value is like you know the the dinner you have
Yeah.
together or like the time you spend that's not working together. And so I like the sort of organized fun I've like moved away from a little
You
bit.
said a couple times like no, you can measure that, and it makes sense. Obviously, also like what ChartHub does. Do you have a couple of like call it questions that you think if you run one survey a year, you think these are the most important questions to like ask, call it company wide or just in a one-on-one that like really get at the root of like how we doing?
It's a good question. I think I'm not going to give any like shocking answer here. I think that upward feedback to the manager, I think, is some of the most some of the most helpful feedback sometimes.
And is it happening? Is it good? Are people comfortable giving it? Is that like, what are you looking for?
People aren't always, but I think, when it's, when it's confidential to the manager, sometimes people will share things, and sometimes it's because people usually like their manager. That's why they stay at a job. But
Melanie seems
sometimes
to
it's
love working with me, so that's like been validated.
But sometimes
Get on
it's
the possum train, and then we can talk. Okay, carry on, Ian.
like I used to when we would do our upward feedback, we used to do scores, right? We would have people like assess the manager on like, does this person give me feedback? Do they create a welcoming team environment, et cetera, et cetera. And I actually ditched the scores because they were just sort of, they weren't really informing anything. People generally like, they would give their manager good scores or they quit. Like that's kind of like what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But
That makes sense.
But when people give upward feedback and they like their manager, you have to read between the lines of what they didn't say about their manager, because people will usually rate their manager like, say my manager, best manager I've ever worked for, like so supportive of my career, like et cetera, et cetera. And then it's what they leave out. Like this person didn't, they didn't say this person helped me succeed or help me win or help me with this problem.
So if you just see hype without like sort of a lot of the, call it like challenge parts of manager, that's like what it's telling you. Okay.
Yeah. And I've actually found that, I can't believe we got through a whole podcast without once mentioning AI. Good job, everybody. Because
I think we earned one.
We just ran out of time. That's all.
But I will say that it's actually the kind of thing that is the like AI at scale can actually do a good job of reading the negative, because I think as humans we often like read the positive. If you look at a whole like large set of upward manager feedback and you see what's being omitted, that can tell you as much as what's
that's an interesting insight. Okay, cool. Ian, this was a blast. Thank you so much for sharing your acting experience, your ChartHop building experience, your anti-possum stance. It's great to know I'm not alone. I think we're in the solid majority on that one. It was really fun.
You just wait till I become a billionaire on this idea.
Yeah, we will wait.
I will say true story.
Yeah.
I was in SF in like 2012 or something and got in an Uber with someone who will remain nameless. And I remember this person says to me, "This doesn't seem like a good company idea to me at all. This is terrible." And so you just
about
never
the Uber?
know. About Uber.
Sure.
And
okay. Yeah.
That
Melanie, this is how so many founders go wrong.
You can't listen to the naysayers. You gotta
stay true.
You gotta follow your truth. That's what it boils down to.
Thank you, Ian.
Follow your truth. Make sure that you've have a nest egg built up. That you've got a plan B.
Whatever, Roxanne. Ian, you are already invited to the next podcast. Thank you so much, Ian.
This was fun.
This was a blast. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Bye all. I've been waiting my whole life to say this. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, and follow us on LinkedIn, because that's the only social media platform where we hang out.